arteries and veins and capillaries, etc. On top of that, you have fantastic mental health benefits. So it's not just about the physical.
So the big question is this: how are investors like us, who weren't born with a silver spoon, successfully investing in property to create a passive income and still have a lifestyle now? That is the question. This podcast will give you the answers. I'm George Markowski and welcome to the Positive Property Show. Our mission is to empower 10,000 people to create financial freedom through property using the Markowski Method. Join us. Hi, George Markowski, and welcome to our show. Now, what we're doing today, we're actually doing simultaneous two podcasts. So you're either watching this on The Ugly Truth or you're watching this on the Positive Property Show, and you can see why it's actually relevant for both things. Now, I've got Kym Burls here. Kym, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, George. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to see you. Now, I recently bumped into Kym at one of your workshops, actually.
Yep.
And actually, my brother-in-law, Joel, he actually messaged me and goes, George, I'm going to be doing an ice bath, the Wim Hof Method. Do you want to come? And I said, hell yeah. I've always wanted to do this. It's great. And what we're going to do is I'm going to talk a bit about, how we met and what's happening. We're going to talk about ice baths, the health issue. But also, what I want to talk about today, we're going to be touching on, is we're going to be talking about comfort zone. And this is how it ties into property, because at the end of the day, having an ice bath is not comfortable.
It is not.
Getting out of your comfort zone. And I really think when it comes to success, whether it's in property, whether it's in business, whether it's in health, it's being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
100%.
And I think that's going to be the theme today, because, buying a property is not comfortable. It's getting out of your comfort zone. Asking that person you're really attracted to out is not comfortable. But the best things in life happen just out of your comfort zone. That's the whole point. So we met, and what happened was we did the breathing and all that, and the way you explained it was fantastic. It was great. I really enjoyed it, and you made it feel very comfortable. Then we had the ice bath, and I remember I was waiting for other people to go in, and they all went in there, and I was like, look at these pussies. I'm tough. I'll handle this, right? 3 minutes, I can tough it out. So anyway, we jump in, and as soon as you jump in, it's like a million pins and needles hitting you. It's painful. Your body's saying, get the hell out now. Just get out. And I'm like, whoa, I'm feeling uncomfortable. And I've never felt this before. And I'm like holding on to it. And funny enough, the stronger you hold on to it, the more uncomfortable you become.
Correct.
And the problem is you get caught up in that. And your brain's not thinking because it's in overdrive. And I'm thinking, squeeze as hard as you can so you can put up with this. And the more harder I squeeze, the more focus on the pain, the harder it is, the more painful it is. You saw me struggling. And you came up and said, look, just let go. Just let go.
It's Mother Nature. You will not beat the cold, nor is the idea to beat it. The idea is to relax and essentially be calm in that storm. And this is why what you were talking about of helping it being beneficial to helping you learn to de-stress is perfect. Because in life, yes, you can run away from stress, but more often than not, you have to stay in it. And therefore, the secret is to learn to stay in it and get calm and get control. And it's not about toughing it out, because that doesn't make the stress go away. It just makes you more stressed.
Makes it worse.
So it's this lovely little, training tool for the broader picture. And hopefully, you picked up that lesson.
Look, I certainly did. And the thing is, it doesn't matter how many times you read this lesson. Actually experiencing the lesson is the way to go. And look, I suggest anyone watching, seriously, if you haven't tried jumping ice baths, you should really talk to someone like Kym that's an expert in it, because you don't want to do it on your own. You really need an expert to guide you through it, but it's so worthwhile because it's so tough. Because I really believe the tough things in life are some of the most worthwhile things in life.
Correct.
And this brings me back to Buddhism, because I love the Buddha. And the Buddha explains that suffering is when you're hoping for something different. And then the absence of suffering is when you accept where you're at. And with the ice bath, me trying to fight it, I was suffering. And the time I stopped suffering was when I accepted it. And that's it. And the funny thing is, I've tried cold showers before in the past, and I always found them very difficult. But I do them anyway. And tough it out. And then after doing the ice method review, they were like so easy.
Yeah,
but also the important part why it's easy is because now, as soon as I get uncomfortable, I accept it.
Yeah.
And it hits you 2 seconds later, you just accept it.
Yep.
I slow my breathing down because I used to hyperventilate in the cold.
Yeah.
And
even
now,
in the shower?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, yeah. I really, because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And what I've learnt now is with the breathing technique, I've cut it down to about 5 breaths a minute.
Yeah, that is the perfect breathing rate for stimulating something called the vagus nerve in the human body.
Yes.
And if you can maintain that 5 to 6, I actually worked out that it's 5.5 breaths per minute. But hey, if you can get to 5 breaths, you are activating that vagus nerve, and that's been shown from a scientific perspective to help with just improving our overall resilience. So helping to fight injury, recover from illness, calm down the body. And they're also looking at it being one of the primary gut-brain communication channels. So it has a range of benefits. And if you can maintain that in the cold, that's awesome. Really good.
Yeah, and look, I've cut it down to about 4.5 breaths now.
Yeah.
Because what happens is I do 3
Hey,
minutes.
don't forget to breathe. Though,
No.
No.
So what I do now is I breathe in, hold it, breathe out, hold it, breathe in and count to 10 and then start again. And what happens is now 3 minutes takes me 14.5 breaths.
Yep.
So it's just,
Yeah.
And the good part is, where you're at. I know exactly what time it is.
Yep.
Because of the breathing. And it's actually very meditative, very relaxing.
Yeah. The only thing I will quickly say on that is just for people listening and watching at home, just to be careful with doing any form of breath hold in or near water.
Yep.
So if you're doing just something short like that, not a problem. But when you start to extend and greatly extend that breath hold, that's something that shouldn't be done in or near water. Always do that laying down. So a little safety tip.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. And look, talking about the vagus nerve, if you guys watched my podcast on HRV, variability, go check that out because there's a lot about that there. And
definitely.
I'm really, because I've got sort of inflammation, we call it autoimmune disease.
Yep.
And because of that, stimulating my vagus nerve is very important.
100%.
And obviously cold is a beautiful way of doing it and very easy because there's a few different techniques, I think.
Yeah, so you can, cold exposure is one of them, slowing down your breathing rate to that 5.5 breaths per minute. Also things like humming, singing and chanting, so meditation, an Om in yoga, for example. What happens is you have your vagus nerve running down past your throat, your vocal cords, so when you hum, it vibrates and activates it. Yeah,
that's so cool.
If you look at ancient cultures and a lot of their meditation and their chanting, they actually, the tempo of that chant is in sync with the right tempo to activate the vagus nerve. So you've got these cultures that are thousands of years old.
Any particular you can mention? I'd love to check this out.
Yeah, so the one that most people will be familiar with is the Ave Maria. In like modern day, I think it's Catholicism. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not big on religion, but the Ave Maria, when the priest and then the parish chant that is in perfect sync with the 5.5 breaths per minute of the vagus nerve.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think it's absolutely fascinating. So you've got cultures that have been around for thousands of years that knew about it without knowing about it.
Yep.
And it just is this beautiful synchronization of modern scientific uncovering with this ancient sort of wisdom and ancient practices.
Yeah, it's really amazing how science is finally now catching up to the ancient wisdom, and we're slowly getting into meditation and Stoicism and Buddhism and all that sort of stuff that's coming back.
Yep.
Because for a while there, everyone got into the modern man, not worrying about the ancient culture. Now we're all connecting back to the past, which is beautiful.
Yep.
And look, I mean, I guess your HRV, so cold exposure can increase your HRV. Yeah, well, let's explain what HRV is.
Yes, go for it.
Heart rate variability. Yeah. Because just a quick explanation. So what happens is between each heartbeat, there's a gap. And basically, if the gap is too consistent, it actually means that you're stressed.
Yep.
And counterintuitive, it's better having more variability between each gap. And the more variability you have, the healthier you are and the more relaxed you are.
Yep.
And that's turning on the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yep.
And that's why cold exposure, because you've got the vagus nerve getting stimulated.
Yep.
and therefore it's helping your HRV.
Correct. Yeah, that's spot on.
And the good part is with HRV, if you measure it, and you can measure it with a Polar watch, or actually I've got an Oura ring that I use.
Oura ring will do it. A Whoop strap as well. If you're into your fitness and sort of body tracking, will do that as well. There's more and more devices coming out that are measuring it, because more and more people are finding out that the benefits of, hey, if I just measure my HRV, it's a very quick way to understand what's going on in my body. Am I stressed or am I relaxed? And it's like a digital check-in.
Absolutely. But the good part is then you know if you're progressing with your meditation practice or your breathing practice or your ice practice, which is great. So look, thanks, man. So basically, the science is out there.
Yeah.
And it's been proven. Cold therapy works.
Yeah.
In many ways, because they've done studies with Wim Hof.
Yeah, and
you've trained with.
Correct. Yeah. So they've done studies on Wim with him combining his breathing technique along with cold exposure. But even before then, there's been a plethora of studies over years looking at the Scandinavian cultures, the Russian cultures, and their long history with the combination of cold exposure and, in this case, like saunas and heat, and that contrast therapy. So, yes, Wim Hof method, definitely, but it's not just limited to that. So, and that's the amazing thing, is that it's not just you must do it in this particular way. It's get your cold exposure in any particular way that you like.
I like that you're not dogmatic about this, because really at the end of the day, getting cold exposure is so important, whatever way you get it.
Yep.
And because they've done studies on these people, the iceberg people.
Yeah.
The people that go swimming in winter for an hour. And even that, it's amazing. And it's 40 degrees there.
Yeah. So look, there's been some of the research that's come out looked at, for example, people that work outdoors in Scandinavia, and people that swim regularly, all around the world, and people that putting people into cold environments for extended periods of time for sort of 6 to 8 weeks, and looking at what's going on. And there's some amazing things from, I won't say primarily, but in a big way, from the immune system coming out there. So you're seeing obvious decreases in inflammation, but which is your secondary, or the second layer of your immune system. But on top of that, some studies have come out and shown increases in lymphocytes, increases in white blood cells, increases in killer T cells. So that is all your third layer of your immune system. So it is a very strong way to create and give yourself a more robust immune system.
Absolutely.
Alongside the immune benefits, you have things like a cardiovascular workout, where you're having vasoconstriction, so your blood vessels constrict when you go in the ice bath. And then when you get out, they open back up again. So it's a great way for working out the smooth muscle of your arteries and veins and capillaries, etc. On top of that, you have fantastic mental health benefits. So it's not just about the physical, right? There are there's lots of research happening at the moment, also as it ties into the vagus nerve, but also looking at how cold exposure can help people with mental health illness. So one of the active the active chemicals involved in cold exposure is noradrenaline. And it's a hormone, and it's also a neurotransmitter. And what they've found is that increased levels of noradrenaline are linked to things like improved focus, mood, and attention. But inversely, low levels of noradrenaline have been shown to be linked to depression. So they found in patients with depression, they looked at them after they'd passed away and found decreased levels of noradrenaline in their system. Now, the exact cause between why that is from what I've read so far, it's still being investigated. They are looking at the link between inflammation and depression, and how inflammation can be one of the causes of depression. And obviously, noradrenaline helps decrease inflammation in the body. So is there a link going on with that?
Very interesting. I want to look at this more closely. Because interesting, they did a study on fruit flies where they kept them in a cold environment for their whole life.
Okay.
They lived a lot longer.
Interesting. Well, there's that sort of things, and this came up at the workshop around the cold shock proteins and the impact that has on your telomeres, and slowing down the decay, for want of a better term, of your telomeres, and how that leads to a longer life.
Cold shock proteins. Cold shock proteins are very similar to heat shock proteins, aren't
yes.
they? I think they're almost identical.
Like it's still very. I'm still exploring and going through it myself.
I listened to Rhonda Fitzpatrick, and she was saying that cold produces heat shock proteins.
Yes.
She said that once, but then they call it cold shock, so I'm not 100% sure. But the cold shock proteins and things are pretty amazing. Yeah, so it's interesting about that, because I'm very curious about the health benefits. Obviously, reducing inflammation, increasing deep sleep, and increasing HRV. Those are the three things that I feel are the big winners here that I want to really work on. Because I noticed after the workshop review, my deep sleep increased for about a week.
Nice. Really?
Really. Like
fantastic.
Doubled. So I normally have trouble getting...
So you're looking at from an Oura ring perspective. That is fantastic.
So what I normally have with my deep sleep, I have a lot of challenges with deep sleep for some reason. And it might be part of the autoimmune and my low HRV. But what I found with that was a game changer. Unfortunately, didn't last longer than a week. I've been doing cold showers and it doesn't have the same effect.
No.
And I'm only doing 3 minutes, and it's summer now, so it's not as cold anymore. I get that. But I thought I'd better do that anyway, because that way I'm practicing what I'm doing. And it has to have some sort of effect. But what I'd love to do is now work out the minimum effective dose and how to do it. And that's part of the reason I've got you here. Because I want to question you about things, because there's different ways you can do this. You can go in a cold shower. You can go in the beach in the winter. Because that goes down to about 14 degrees, I think.
Peak winter, maybe.
And if you're in Melbourne, probably a little bit colder.
Correct. Definitely.
How cold does the shower go in winter?
That's going to depend if you're up in the hills or here. So, it may be around that sort of 12, 13. Up in the hills, gets pretty fresh. Down here, I haven't actually lived down here for a long time. So, it's going to it fluctuates a lot. And that's kind of the tricky thing, because what you're looking for is water, a temperature below 16 to 17 degrees. So at that temperature, that's when the body responds to that decrease and releases noradrenaline and begins that cold exposure process.
So the first step is below 16. That's a good little mark there. And
so
obviously, the colder you get, the bigger the response. That's what I was curious about. Maybe it's not obvious, but is that true?
No, it's funny you mentioned that. So look, I brought along, I knew that you were going to ask this, so I've dived into a couple of little papers, and if you'll just permit me, what I'll do is sort of talk about the three key areas that relate to cold exposure. So they are temperature, they are time, so the length of time you're in there, and the type of cold exposure that you're doing. So first things, temperature definitely plays a role in the benefits you get out of it. So they did a study and they put people into 20-degree water and then 14-degree water. Now they noticed an absolutely massive spike in noradrenaline in 14 degrees, but absolutely nothing at 20 degrees. So we know that there is this sweet spot. Now, in terms of cold water, like it feels colder, that's to do with sort of our pain receptors. So the bigger the temperature differential, so if you're going from 34 degrees outside, jumping into a 4-degree ice bath, it's going to feel very much colder than if you are walking around at 5 degrees outside temperature and you just hop into the ice bath. So, and this is also where your adaptability and your body starts to build its resilience as it then adapts. So it's when you get in the cold, bang, fight or flight response, a sympathetic nervous system is activated, and then it's as the body adjusts, that's when the good stuff starts to happen. So looking here, there hasn't been a conclusive study to say like there is a correlation between the colder the temperature and the bigger the release of noradrenaline, but there also hasn't been a study to say that it isn't. Right? So the jury's still out.
What about the differential?
Oh, the temperature differential?
So if you go from a sauna into a shower, is that going to be similar to going from a room temperature to ice bath?
From a feeling perspective, yes, it will. From a release of, is that going to release more noradrenaline? I haven't been able to find anything, and certainly in Rhonda Patrick's paper, which is a super comprehensive summary of everything, it was still very inconclusive around that. So while they do know there is a temperature sweet spot, they haven't found the relationship or a correlation between the lower the temperature, the greater the release of noradrenaline.
Okay, so,
however, what you end up with is the second factor is time. So, and this is where it gets really interesting. So, I get asked all the time, how long should I stay in an ice bath? And my answer is always the same. It is get out when you no longer feel the need to. Right? So when you are relaxed and calm, job done. Now, the same thing applies with cryotherapy as with the ice bath. And they actually did a study here. They put people in for 20 seconds of cold water immersion, which is not very long, at 4 degrees. And they put the people in 2 minutes of whole body cryotherapy at only minus 110. So that also is not the maximum. That's 110 Celsius. So normally it gets down to around 170, 180 even sometimes. And what they found is the levels of noradrenaline in the blood both increase between 200 to 300% in both cases. So the time differential for that short-term thing, not really much difference.
Really? Wow. So 20 seconds and 2 minutes didn't make a difference?
No. However, this is where it also gets interesting again. You can spend much, much longer in an ice bath
than in cryotherapy. Totally.
Right? 10 minutes of cryotherapy, not going to do very good things.
You can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it.
But you can, with some good, consistent training, sit in an ice bath for 10 minutes. Now, I'm not saying that you need to, but you can increase the length of time you spend.
Any more than 3 minutes of cryotherapy is probably not advisable.
No, and it's similar to ice bath, right? You talked about before, the minimum effective dose. So it takes around 90 seconds for the happy hormones to flood through the body and for for us to feel those effects. It then takes around 2 minutes for the body to sort of go from this stressed in the cold to I'm relaxing in here. And this is why we say the minimum effective dose is 2 minutes. So 2 minutes at around 4.5 degrees, so between 4 or 5 degrees, okay? That's what you're looking for, and that's what cryotherapy is also based on. They got their 2 minutes at their, it is around 160, 170 degrees. Okay, so I went to the one in on East End, and it was only 2.
Oh, really?
Maybe she shortchanged me.
Maybe,
I don't know. But
because I had the record, the one in Henley, for the coldest one. I went to minus 130 for 3 minutes.
Yeah, right.
But I toughed it out.
Yeah, and this is like,
it's not that hard. Cryotherapy compared to ice bath. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, because I've done cryotherapy, minus 110, 130.
Yep.
And usually everyone's like, George, you can handle it better than anyone.
Yeah.
But, and the one in town, I'm normally go squat right down near where the air's coming in.
Yeah, right.
So cool it right down. But that ice bath.
Yeah.
Oh, that was tough.
And this is why I wanted to go to the last little point, which is the type. So look, I'm going to keep cold showers out of it because they just aren't, in my opinion, they're not powerful enough unless you happen to live in the Northern Hemisphere and it's winter time. So from Australian perspective, they are good from a mental training perspective, but the physical benefits, you're going to be tough to find. So that leaves us with cryotherapy, and it leaves us with an ice bath. Now, there are 3 factors that come into play with that. You have the thermal conductivity of the environment that you're in, so air versus ice and water. Then you have the surface area that's in contact with that cold. And the last one is you have the temperature gradient. So the difference in temperature from where you were to the stimulus that you're in. So if we look at the first one, the thermal conductivity. Ice and water conducts heat and therefore cold much, much better than air that you get from cryotherapy.
Absolutely.
So it's going to feel a lot colder, and the idea behind cold exposure therapy is you do want to lower your core temperature. So if you have greater thermal conductivity that you get through an ice bath, you're going to be able to lower your core temperature much, much quicker and in a stronger way in an ice bath than you will in cryotherapy.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I'm going to award the point to the ice bath.
Yep.
Now, you look at how much of the body is involved. Surface area, second point. Now, for a full immersion ice bath and full immersion in cryotherapy, much of a muchness, right?
Except cryotherapy, you got your head there, and usually an ice bath, you don't.
No, what but it's we're talking like a minor kind of thing. So long as you've got the majority of your surface area, compared to say what some athletes might do when they just dunk their lower half. So for all intents and purposes, full body ice bath, full body cryo, similar. And as we saw with that 20 seconds in an ice bath, 2 minutes in cryo, similar release of noradrenaline. So from that, they're pretty equal.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Third point, you have then the temperature gradient. Well, that's obviously going to go to cryotherapy because an ice bath doesn't get down to minus 110 or even further.
Yeah.
And so, like, my opinion on this is that I still favour an ice bath over cryotherapy because you get a multitude of other benefits that come with it. You get all the physical benefits, but you can really, really work on your mental health and get into a deeper meditative state. You can also stay in there for much, much longer. So then it does become more of a mental challenge while still remaining safe. And then there's the cost factor as well.
Yes, massive difference. Because I'm looking at the moment, and part of the reason I've got you on is I'm looking at either buying an ice bath or a cryotherapy machine.
Yep.
And I've looked at the prices, and I can buy an ice bath. There's one in Melbourne at the moment, around $7,000.
Yep. And that's the already pre-built.
Pre-built.
Yep. Is it like that something Forge or something like? No. Okay.
It's not a little white thing. It looks good.
Actually. Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't look that deep, but I reckon you get in there.
Make sure and check the size out because ideally you want to be up to your clavicle and to be able to sit in there nice and stretched out and relaxed, right? Because like you're saying, you don't want to be in there tense and you don't want to be sitting there too tightly if you can help it. And I'm not too sure how that one operates, but there's things you've got to look at from a sanitation
this one's sanitation, freezing, got everything done.
And has it got a lid on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Nice.
So I'll be looking at that. Yep. And I've been looking at, there's two types of cryotherapy.
Yep.
There's the liquid nitrogen, which is a hassle.
Well, it's a renewable. You need to keep getting it in, right?
It's a renewable. Yep. But then you've got the electric, and the electric's pretty cheap.
Okay.
So the electric cryotherapy.
There's
two types of electric. There's the minus 85 and minus 110. And there's a price difference there as well.
Yep.
So minus 85 is around 150,000 Australian. And the minus 110 is probably a little bit more.
Yep.
Right? So.
And does it only provide you whole body, or does it also have an option to do localized?
No.
Only whole body.
Whole body. Yeah. But the electricity is only like a couple of dollars a day. So once you've got it.
Yeah.
Look, it's not cheap.
Yep.
But at the end, I take my health seriously.
Yeah, no, completely.
And I don't mind spending the money.
Yep.
Because I think that, with life, if you don't have health, you've got nothing.
No, you're spot on. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, ice bath all the way, because for me, I say this at the workshops, like, hopefully we've explained the differences, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to which one are you going to do more often? And whichever one you can do consistently is going to be the best one for you.
Yep.
Because there's no point you going, oh, someone told me in a research paper that cryotherapy was the best. You fork out all that money and you never ever do it because actually you like an ice bath. Or vice versa. If you love cryo, man, do cryo. And you can afford it, do cryo. Because that's the one that you're going to practice regularly. So you're going to get all the consistent benefits. And but from a paper kind of thing, like, on paper,
ice bath sounds a little bit better on paper. And I wonder, the minus 85, is that as good as minus 110? Probably pretty similar, I'd say.
Well, it's colder than the 4.5 degrees of an ice bath,
But I get what you're saying about the ice bath, the mental part. Because me buying an ice bath, I'm a little bit anxious, a little bit scared of it.
But the beautiful thing, George, I
remember what it's like.
The beautiful thing is that the more that you do it, and the key here is to ensure that when you do it, it remains a positive experience. Mm-hmm. And this is where take that tension out, because then your body remembers, hey, George, the last time you're in here, you relaxed. Okay, next time. No, this went okay. And every time that you do it, you get more and more relaxed, and you have this positive reinforcement.
Yeah, how long have you been doing it for?
So I started in 2019, 2018, January 2018.
Okay, so you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, you also, didn't you go up Mount Kilimanjaro in your shorts?
Not me. So Wim's gone up Mount Kilimanjaro. I've been up
What did you do
with Wim. So we went up a mountain called Mount Śnieżka, which is in Poland. It's on the Polish-Czech border. And I've climbed up Mount Kosciuszko. So very different to Kilimanjaro. Look, I've been and I've explored all different types of cold exposure therapy. From, bare-chested walks to cryotherapy to cold showers to swimming in the beach to lakes to ice baths. And for me, it comes back down to, what have I got the most access to? What do I enjoy the most? And at the end of the day, I love my little chest freezer.
Yep.
Here in Adelaide and in Australia, let's face it, we don't have very ready access.
There's a guy selling a chest freezer on eBay at the moment.
How much for? Details.
Yeah. I sent him an offer. He rejected it.
Yeah.
I think it's like $2 or $3
Yeah, but
which is not bad.
No.
But the thing is, I mean, so let me ask you. So the first time you did an ice bath,
yeah.
discomfort level out of 10.
Yep. I'm gonna give it 10.5.
Okay. Now, when you do one,
so I did one this morning. I had a photo shoot at my house, and I put 100 kilos of ice in an ice bath, and I clocked the temperature at 2 degrees, which is damn cold for an ice bath.
Cold.
And it was fine. Like
out of 10, discomfort.
By the end of the photo shoot, because it was quite a long photo shoot, it got uncomfortable.
How long were you in there for?
A bit more than 10 minutes.
Wow, long time.
Yeah, but that's,
that's
got to get the shot.
But I'm saying the first 3 or 4 minutes. Wow, so that's it. That excites me because obviously you can get used to it and just do it.
Yeah, so, if I share my first time going into cold water, let alone an ice bath at all, was when I went on the Wim Hof Method expedition to Poland in January 2018. Day one, did the breathing, walked us down to the water's edge, and just said, jump in. So I'm like, what do I do here? What am I meant to? And he's like, no, just jump in. And so you're quite literally letting your body simply respond and react to how it is. You're not controlling it. And I certainly wasn't in control. I jumped in that water, I popped my head up, and I was like crazy. And I had such a strong reaction that I actually needed help getting changed. We're talking like taking my bathers off, drying my bits, putting my other bathers on, and getting help. And that was day one.
Wow.
And then by the end of it, by the end of the 5 days, we did a 4-hour hike in sort of minus 15 up the mountain and back down again. Not without any trouble.
That's amazing.
This is how the body has been shown that it can adapt to cold within 3 or 4 days. Your metabolism will start to adapt and change in that short space of time. If that's adapting and changing, well, your experience can change. You may have had a nervous experience the first time, but I guarantee you, if you go back again and you bring a sense of peace and love and not force and tension to it, that the experience will be more positive. And then the next time, it will get better and better. And if sure, you can use me as an example. Like, I can go in there now and my heart rate doesn't really, there's no fight or flight response. I'm just in and just sit, be, and feel.
How often do you go in ice bath?
I try and do it daily. It depends on what I've got on. If I've got an early morning client that I'm teaching or an early morning workshop, it doesn't work. But for the most part, it's a daily thing for me.
Just in the morning?
Yeah. I find that it is a fantastic way to start my day. This morning I was still am on cloud 9 afterwards. Like, the effects of it, I feel differently from it.
Look, even cold shower, I'm doing every morning now, still gives me an hour or two boost in the morning. It's amazing.
So
I can imagine ice bath.
Yeah,
much more powerful.
And again, you can do it another time, right?
Yep.
So you can do it. I know people that take an ice bath when they get home from work, or that they take one immediately before bed because it helps them sleep. We say do it in the morning because you really get the opportunity to enjoy those energizing effects throughout your entire day. And also, you're starting your day with something uncomfortable. So the day's not going to get any worse because you've already done something that's uncomfortable.
Well, the funny thing is, after doing the ice bath, because I've got a personal trainer that comes to work out, and sometimes we've got to do planks and wall squats and all that. And after the ice bath, that was so easy because my tolerance of pain has gone up. Amazing. Yeah. And it's a fact because one week it was tough, next week it was easy. So I found everything easier. Anything to do with pain or discomfort.
Well, it is
easier.
Because the experience is not comfortable. And look, for the people listening, I'm not going to lie and say that an ice bath gets comfortable. You just get more comfortable with that level of discomfort. Exactly. And that's what it is.
And I can see that's why it's so powerful because of that. And at the end of the day, I'm always convinced it'd be cheaper to buy $7,000 one.
Yeah. But also from a renewables perspective, you've just got the power that's on there. Now, if you've got it on a thermostat, like I've got mine.
And I've got a battery, so I'm carbon neutral.
You're laughing.
Anyway.
Yeah. That would be... I couldn't recommend that highly enough in case you haven't picked up in the slant that I'm putting on this.
Yeah, look, I was leaning the other way before, really, but I'm thinking $170,000. I might as well buy another house.
Yeah. You're all about property.
Yeah. So I could buy a house and an ice bath instead of just buying a cry sorter. Yeah. And the house will make me money. Yeah. And if I buy...
And bring you joy,
hopefully. Well, of course. I love getting investment properties. But the beautiful part is, my idea is, I'll buy the ice bath, I'll put this $100,000, buy a house. That house will probably make me $50,000 to $100,000 in the next 12 months. Yeah. So then, I've got the money for the cross one if I want it anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? I love it. Yeah. That's awesome. So that's very exciting.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Now, how can I improve my deep sleep? Because that's my biggest challenge. And I've been thinking getting an ice bath and doing it every morning would help. Yep. Do you do anything to prepare before you go in the ice bath?
Yeah. So...
Because I'm just thinking how long it takes, because obviously just jumping in for 3 minutes doesn't take long at all.
No. So, look, with the Wim Hof method, the protocol for approaching cold exposure, and this is any cold exposure, is a three-part process. So part one is preparing the body and the mind. Part two is what you do in that cold exposure. And part three is afterwards. So part number one, preparing the body, what you do beforehand. This is why we recommend to do the Wim Hof method style breathing beforehand for that calming and relaxing effect it has on the body, but also that help with, it shifts the body's pH. So you have an improved pain tolerance, which is very beneficial.
Be very beneficial.
Yeah, and it also helps from a meditation standpoint. You're blocking out all the other distractions and just focusing on you and the cold exposure you're about to do. So look, that can take, depending on where you go and how fast you breathe, etc., between 15 minutes and 25 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes, right? And my daily practice includes the breathing as well, and that's, I adjust that based on how much time I've got in the morning, right? So you're looking at that kind of thing. In terms of getting in there, just, if you don't have time to do the breathing, walk up. Take some big, slow exhale breaths, calm your body, step in with confidence, or if you're in the shower, take some, a nice long exhale to calm you down, then turn the cold tap on, and then just breathe. And that's it. So your preparation is really up to you. We have a recommendation, but look, I don't always do the breathing before I go in the cold. Sometimes I like to roll straight out of bed, put my bathers on, and jump straight in. No preparation, no nothing. Because life is like that,
exactly.
Right? You can't go, oh, I've got this stressful thing coming up. Hang on, guys, time out. Just let me do my breathing. No, sometimes it comes at you, and you have to learn to deal with it in the moment. So I mix up how I approach my training because it keeps me flexible. And some days I enjoy that a lot more. Other days, like this morning, I knew that I was going to have a long ice bath, so I did, half an hour of really deep, intensive breath work beforehand to prepare. So it's just about working out what you've got and what you need for that day. So it certainly doesn't have to be a very time-consuming practice.
And then what do you do afterwards?
Afterwards, for me, is the most important thing. The afterwards is what sets, really makes the experience. And for me, like the way I explain it, anyone can get into an ice bath, grip the sides, tough it out for 10 minutes, run out into a sauna, into a hot shower, and forget that it ever happened. You miss so much of the beauty and the power of it. So for me, I like to go in. When I'm relaxed and calm, I step out and I just simply stand there. That's it. And I just nice, long, slow breaths. I'm not doing anything else, and I simply feel my body.
Sounds very spiritual.
It is. Well, it's very meditative.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit of a body scan and check in. All right, how are my feet feeling? Legs, back, hands, and I just feel the body warming up, and I allow my body to warm up naturally. Then sort of move around a bit and check in again. Am I still feeling a little bit cold? If so, I might go and do some slow, gentle movements. If I'm not, towel myself off and then go and start my day. But just like in yoga, for example, you do your intensive practice and then you have the shavasana at the end, right? You mix the activity with the rest. It's the same with the cold exposure. Mix the training, the stress with some rest at the end, and allow what you've just done to be integrated in that component, rather than bang, getting out and charging off with your day. You want to get that body into a state of rest after, so then you can start your day. Too many of us charge around stressed enough. We need that little time out.
Totally. And since doing cold showers in the morning, it's made a massive difference already. Because I used to get up and you got like 10 missed calls and all this, and then you're stressed out. But if you do a cold shower first, you're pretty chillaxed.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be even more powerful.
Yep.
So I'm curious about contrast therapy.
Sure.
Because I've got a sauna at home.
Yep.
Which I love using.
Yeah.
But how would I use that with cold therapy? How do you integrate it? Is it possible? What does Wim Hof do?
Yeah, it certainly is. Look, I'll start by saying that I am, and not that I'm an expert on the cold, but I'm less knowledgeable when it comes to heat. I have limited experience with sauna, given Australia. If I was Scandinavian, I would love to talk to you in more detail about it. So it is some limited, it's coming from a limited knowledge here. But you can certainly combine the two.
So I'm just wondering, do you do sauna first, ice bath first, or the other way around? That's the curious thing, because obviously if you got the sauna first, you might be able to handle it better.
Yeah, so
or maybe worse.
From my understanding is start hot, finish cold.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. And the reasons are, from my understanding, to do with the blood vessels opening and closing, and sort of bringing the heart rate down and that kind of thing. But
also, after being in an ice bath, you're going to go in the sauna. It's going to take a long time to sweat. You're not going to...
No, that's right. And look, it will, depending on the length of time you're in the ice bath, it will also feel a lot more painful. You're going to get a lot of prickly sensations, because weirdly enough, or beautifully enough, the same pain receptors in our body that sense temperature are also the ones that signal for prickly heat. You know, when you get really, really hot and you get pins and needles, exactly the same sensor. So when you go from one to the other, you're going to really feel that a lot more. So my very limited understanding, unfortunately, of contrast therapy is that it is this extra workout. So you're getting your blood vessels constricting in the cold and then opening up wide in the sauna. So you're really, and then as you cycle between it, you're sort of opening, closing. And so you're really flushing out deeply a lot of crap, like from your lymphatic system through that process. And I know there are a bunch of other benefits of the sauna, but it's not something I can sort of talk confidently about.
I understand. So obviously, in Northern Europe, people love saunas and cold. They do both.
Yep.
And so what do they normally do?
It's just cycling. So you cycle from one to the other, to the other, to the other. Now, look, it depends on your goal. Like if you're an athlete, some people say, you want to be 2 minutes in, 2 minutes and flop between. But, other people I know that will sit in a sauna for half an hour, go out, jump in a cold bath for 2 minutes and get back in again. Like, so what are your goals? What are your aims? What are you looking to do? How much time have you got? But certainly, and also if you're doing it from a pure training perspective, maybe you want that opening and closing of the blood vessels to happen a lot quicker. So you go in, warm yourself up, and then cool yourself down, and then go back and warm yourself up. If you want to do it from a meditation perspective, you're probably going to spend longer in each and be a bit more gentle with it. So you can certainly apply it. But as for a training protocol, unfortunately, I can't give you that information.
Fair enough.
But what I would say is don't be afraid to explore and experiment. Start one day with your sauna first, and then the next day with your, soon to be purchased ice bar, right?
Yes.
And play around with it. Spend longer in one than the other, and just explore and see what works for you, because everybody's different. And it's the same with, I'd say with teaching breathing techniques as well, your goals are going to be different to that person's goals, your physiology is going to react differently, and you will find a desirable pattern that you enjoy. And you're like, yeah, this for me is my minimum effective contrast therapy dose. Give me 15 minutes, bang, 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 I'm in and out, done.
Yep.
That might be what works.
You could always combine sauna with the breathing.
Yeah, correct.
Which makes it nice and easy. Yeah, amazing, interesting, fascinating stuff. So yes, I'm
incredible.
thinking I like to experiment with the cold ice bath, because I think that may increase my deep sleep. It did last time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't judge by 1 week, but it seems a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah. And particularly if you've got the data from the Aura Ring as well, like you can actually see what your nighttime sleep was like, and you've got a baseline of previous weeks, months, etc. So
yeah, because I'm always into experimenting, trying different things out, and trying a bit of biohacking.
Yep. And look, again, like I am certainly not a sleep expert, but I have a lot of clients that I have taught that have remarked a similar thing, and it's why they integrate and for them continue to practice cold exposure, because it helps them in that particular way. And that's the thing. Everybody's going to respond differently. Everybody's going to get something different out of it. Like, for me, I haven't noticed, and I've never really had a particular problem with sleep. But, for me, it's all about the mental health benefits, that clarity, that centeredness that I get throughout my day. But having said that, I know plenty of people that are like, yeah, this helps me with my insomnia in a big way, or I feel more relaxed, and...
Well, funny enough, I was reading about one guy who had Crohn's disease and cured it through ice baths.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he wrote a book called The Wedge.
Ah, Scott Carney.
Yes, so being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Yep.
I've recently bought it and been reading it.
Yeah, nice.
Fascinating book.
Yep, and he's a big proponent. He's written this whole book around this exploring discomfort, and I had the whole premise of that book. But he's also written What Doesn't Kill Us, which was his previous book, which he looked at a deep dive into the Wim Hof Method.
Yes, I've got that book as well. I haven't read it yet.
So, and that was one of the first things that actually got me into it. So he's an investigative journalist. He heard about Wim Hof and went, I think this guy is a charlatan.
Yes.
I'm going to go along and I'm going to unmask him before the world. And he went along and went, oh, actually, there's something to this. And, for want of a better term, became a convert in the area of breathing and cold exposure.
Yep. You've met Wim Hof. What's he like?
He is the most genuine guy that you will come across. So if anyone's seen a video or a documentary or heard him on a podcast, he is exactly like that in real life. He is genuine in his desire to share his method, but just to help people live healthier, happier, stronger lives. And he's like a giant kid as well. And I'm incredibly grateful for the work that he has done to shift and instigate discussions around breathing and cold exposure.
The work he's done is amazing, because it wasn't for him. I wouldn't be getting an ice bath.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have done any of this because he's the instigator of all this, because he's really made it popular.
Exactly. He's brought it from the shadows or from the fringes into popular mainstream culture. When you have people like Ellen DeGeneres and Justin Bieber having a conversation last week around the Wim Hof Method, you're like, there's something here, right? And, and you have, higher level athletes and, celebrities all talking about it. Like, it's becoming quite mainstream. And look, I'm grateful for that because, as we talked about, these ancient practices, these practices are nothing new. They've been around for tens of thousands of years, but it's only now that we're actually shining a spotlight on them and bringing them out into the mainstream because of their benefits. And, the more people talking about it, sure, Justin Bieber, go and talk about it, the better it is.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
Yep.
So, now, Kym, you're an instructor, a Wim Hof certified instructor, correct?
Yep, correct.
And you teach people this, and as we spoke before, I went to one of your classes.
Yeah.
And now, if people want to find out more about this sort of stuff,
sure.
Now, obviously, if people in Adelaide, it's pretty simple.
Yep.
And even Australia, it's a short trip here to Adelaide.
Yep.
So how can people find out more about this?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to go to kymburls.com, which is my website. Yep. So it's a little one-stop shop for not only what I do, but I put out a regular blog on all things breathwork, cold exposure, mindset related. So there's and I have a bunch of resources on the site for how to get started with the Wim Hof Method, interesting breathwork content to help you get a foothold in there and understand it. So yeah, my website, kymburls.com, or you can simply Google Wim Hof Method or Wim Hof Adelaide.
Yeah, there's a Wim Hof app too, isn't there?
Yeah, so for those that want to dive into the method, there is a mobile app on wimhofmethod.com that you can download. It's a great tool for helping you build a consistent practice, but also for just explaining it. Like, here's how you do the breathing technique. Here's how you can approach cold exposure. So any of those ways, and just give it a go.
So look, I think that one of the best ways to find out about this is to come along to one of your workshops, because when you see other people doing it and you got the confidence there,
yep,
it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
because if you're doing it on your own, you don't know what you're doing. You could get it wrong, and I really suggest, at the end of the day, you need to learn from a professional like yourself.
Yeah,
and
I'm biased, but I would agree with you, and particularly as it comes to both things. Breathing is an incredibly powerful tool that so many of us aren't aware of, and getting that right and understanding how it all works together, you're really going to get that from a face-to-face instruction.
And you're going to do more in the future?
Yeah, yep. Correct. So I'm holding between 1 to 2 workshops every single month here in Adelaide, but I also do travel around the country, around Australia, for those that are interested.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Pretty mobile.
So guys, let's go to kymburls.com, check it out.
Yeah.
Also, I think we're going to have a discount code for our audience.
Correct, yeah. So we've got a 10% discount for any of my upcoming workshops, which is Ugly Truth 10, gives you 10% discount. Are you able to put that in the show notes?
Yeah,
perfect.
Yep, let's put that in the show notes.
Yep.
And it's pretty exciting. I'm going to go along to the next one myself anyway, so you might be able to see me there as well. Just wanted to say thank you for coming on our podcast. Wanted to give you a copy of my best-selling book.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
I really appreciate everything. Is there any one last thing you want to tell our audience? Or
no, look, I think what I would like to say is that just if you're curious about this, start from trusted, well-known sources, and then don't be afraid to give it a go. Simply approach it with an open mind and try it out for yourself. And I feel very, very confident that you'll be amazed and surprised at the results that you get from this. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next episode. See you later. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. I'm grateful for all our listeners around the world. If you found this podcast valuable, please share with someone that might find this useful, and please join our tribe of purpose-driven investors, increasing income and impact in our Facebook group, Positive Property. Please note, with a multi-million-dollar property portfolio and a passive income, I've become incredibly successful in investing in property. The fact of it is, however, many people may find investing in property challenging. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of hard work. However, becoming educated to make an informed decision and having the right advisors gives you the tools you need to succeed. The most important part of this formula, however, is to actually take action and apply that knowledge. It is important to understand the information I share is of a general nature only and is not taking into account your unique circumstances. If you're considering investing in any asset class, you need to seek the advice of an independent professional advisor who will be able to look at your specific situation. Be sure your advisor has actually achieved the kind of results you're seeking. Many won't have, so beware. We've taken great care putting those educational resources together. We'd be surprised if you didn't find any errors or omissions. If you do, our legal team says we have to say we're not responsible for those. In fact, as with all things, even your success, we're not responsible. That responsibility always has and always will come down to you and the actions you take. We're passionate about supporting you in that process and helping you increase your ability to create wealth, live the life you desire, and provide all the things you dream of for you and your family.